Okay, good. I'm getting better at timing my ads. Oh, okay. That's good. That's good. That's good. I'm still um not the greatest at figuring out when my ads are starting and when they're gonna end. So I'm getting by, so like 5:30 is when like the first batch will be done. Good to know. Oh, hi Digital. Thank you. I appreciate it. Hi Pumpkin. I'm doing pretty good. You know what? Actually, hold on. I'm gonna move this over here. There we go. They can have you guys also over here for me, so I don't have to like be turning over here constantly to like see. Um, it's been good. It's been good. I was having some girl issues, so took some time to rest because for me, it tends to be worse like in the morning and then like really late at night. So I was like, I don't know if I want to, I don't want to know if I want to risk it right now. So I took Monday off as I was finishing that also because like it was a bit of a not a struggle, but I did have to like think kind of hard about like if I wanted to not do my news. Here, I'll make myself a little bigger too. Why not? If I wanted to do news or not. And ultimately, hi slime. The main reason I decided not to do news Monday was because there's primarily one story that everybody wants everybody's opinion on, and I don't know if I really wanted to talk about that as early as yesterday, because there's still so much coming out about it, and I frankly, eh, it's something I feel like very conflicted emotions on in terms of like, I, because like obviously the big story is obviously like Charlie Kirk got, killed. And like everybody wants to know everybody's opinion, it feels like, on it, which I feel like some people shouldn't be sharing their opinions. I will say, you be careful about what you post online, everyone, because they are keeping track of it. They are literally making databases of people who make fun of the event and are like reporting people to their place of employment and stuff to get them fired. So like, kind of just a reminder to be careful what you post, you know? Uh, which I don't agree with that. I think the whole like if someone makes fun of it and you report them to their boss, that's kind of the same cringe shit as the 2016 like I think it's cringe when both sides do it, you know? Like I think it's cringe when both sides do the like, you said something off work time that was like kind of, like I don't know. Like if it's like an actual threat, then like sure, but if it's just someone making fun of it, then like okay, who cares, you know? Oh yeah, I mod for an LGBT streamer and she decided to stop talking about politics and stop playing Helldivers for a minute. Yeah, because that's another thing is I feel like there's a lot of people right now who are going into political stream and content creators purely to goad them into trying to say something they don't like. And I really don't like that. I feel like there's a lot of people right now that are just trying to get people to like goad people into saying something that they can be like, aha, see, they said the bad thing, and I was like, I don't know if I want to display this week that I'm like a political streamer, because there's a lot of people who aren't normally in this space of political content that are looking at it right now, and those people don't really have decorum, to put it bluntly. So I was like, I don't know if I really want to deal with that, because, you know, I also kind of like feel, I guess the best way to, I feel conflicted in that my thoughts on it in general is like I I personally, for who I am and how I view leftism, I center empathy and humanity as the core of my beliefs. That is what I like to motivate my worldview, is the desire to help others. Um, so I just don't really like when people like die, because like that sucks, and that, you know, but I also, here's the thing too. Am I someone who's necessarily like, you know, a lot of people are making the comparison of like, some of y'all would be like, "Oh, don't be happy Hitler died." Like Hitler had a family or something, you know, like that kind of like, that's a comparison a lot of people have been making about like, you guys would be like, "Oh, thoughts and prayers just because he had a family or something." I don't agree with that. I think Charlie Kirk was an absolutely repugnant, disgusting human being, truthfully. Bro had some straight up Nazi opinions. Bro was a disgusting individual. And I think if you dedicate your life to furthering a disgusting cause, and I think if you goad people into like, try me, bro, don't act shocked when someone with a screw loose does something, I guess is kind of my opinion. Like, I think it was brutal as fuck, and I don't really like the thought of anyone going through that, but I also understand that like, that's kind of what can happen when you dedicate your life to a violent cause, to put it bluntly, which I don't feel is that controversial of a statement. You know, it's just like, yeah, eventually some dude with a screw loose is gonna like go like, fuck it, and, you know, look at basically anyone who does that, you know, like, come on. And also, like, it wasn't even just like the left too, like even like Nick Fuentes types, you know, fucking hate him and have hated him for years and have cheered it on, you know. So like, it I feel like a lot of people are making it out to also just be like a left thing, and I don't think that's true. But, you know, a short, I think 2 days ago, and everyone got a short about him, and everyone was more in the comments and just lots of prayers and religious stuff about he was the light. Yeah, no, Charlie Kirk was a really disgusting person. He was. Like, I hold the opinion of, I'm not gonna celebrate, because I also am someone who, I guess like the closest I am to being spiritual is like, I do kind of believe in the what goes around comes around concept. I do kind of believe in that. I'm not someone who's gonna celebrate, because I feel like that's just opening yourself up, and that's just not a good thing to do, but I'm not gonna mourn, I guess, is my thoughts on it. You know, that's kind of how I feel about it. It's just like, think it was a good I don't think it was a good thing to do, but I'm not going to like mourn as if I don't like this trying to make him seem as if he was a good person and like not a truly horrific piece of shit, you know? Like, I don't like that. I will say, because my also thought is, I think about things too from a greater scale. I think a lot of people that are celebrating from the mindset of like, no, no, I know, they thought they lost a good person. Yeah, no, I understand what you meant, Slime. No, I'm just saying in general, like people who are celebrating, like I don't think they understand, to put it truthfully. Like, when I saw a lot of that, I was just kind of like, okay, like, I don't think you guys understand, because I get people thinking of it in the prospect of like, it's one less piece of shit, you know? But the thing is that I think of it from a bigger scale, and it's like there's this situation benefits literally nobody. Like, nobody. Because there's a man who's dead. Doesn't benefit him. Doesn't benefit his direct family. And the man in question is not going to benefit any cause. Yeah. I didn't see the big win in taking out a podcaster. He wasn't a military target. Exactly. Like, here's the thing. I'm not gonna fucking... Even though I am someone that, like, I guess, you know, I'm a leftist who doesn't like violence, really. Yeah, call me a pussy. It's just because I'm a soft little baby. But I will understand when I see countries cheering on taking out like horrific dictators that have like abused and murdered their population. Like, yeah, obviously. Like, obviously. But like, Charlie Kirk is a podcaster. You know? Like, it's just a lost life and the real benefit to the world. It's a different situation as Hitler dying. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, people using that as example. Like, no, obviously, because, like, yeah, Charlie Kirk did spread the hurtful ideology, yes. But also, truthfully, a lot more of the super extreme people were watching more of, like, the Fuentes types. And, like, I don't know. It's just kind of, it's just, to me, it's just kind of, it's a pointless death, you know? This isn't going to do anything. Leftist means that you are in American context. When I'm saying this, I mean in American context. Leftist means that you are further left than the Democratic Party, which isn't hard. That is people typically who are democratic socialists, communists, anarcho, all those people. Basically, if you're further left than if you're further left than if you're further left than Kamala Harris, you're kind of considered a leftist, you know. Bernie Sanders is a leftist, you know. It's a very wide spectrum. That's also a reason I don't really like fully when people kind of try to say everything about, because, you know, it is a very wide spectrum, and also a lot of leftists don't like other leftists, you know, that, like, oh man, you want to see some real infighting, look at if you want to giggle about infighting, just go to any Reddit thread for, like, any kind of leftist thing, and you'll see all of those groups I mentioned just bitching and whining at each other nonstop, you know? It's kind of a school field in that sense. Right in American sense is the Republican Party and those of that. Basically, like, the tamest is your Mitt Romneys, you know, your furthest is your neo-Nazis. Conservative, very progressive is basically the difference. French leftist groups literally fight each other before fighting the Germans. Yeah, it's in our blood. It's in our blood as leftists that we have to declare each other the enemy instead of just shutting the fuck up for once and uniting against something. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of our big issue. But yeah, I will say too, I kind of feel like, I also will say, I do kind of get the vibe that, like, a lot of people who are cheering this on kind of have baby's first leftism energy to me, of like, hi Ulcha, of like baby first leftism, in that kind of, like, you guys mentioned, of like, they're cheering it on as if it was like, as if fucking Mussolini got, you know? And it's like, it's a podcaster, bro. Like, you know, that's the thing. That's I don't know. That's my mindset. It's just kind of like, I knew, yeah, Charlie. I'm talking about it because I didn't want to talk about it Monday because I just didn't want to deal with potential trolls, and also, like, there's still so much coming out about it. Bloodthirsty wannabe revolutionary types who think the Soviet Union was just swell. Oh my god, literally, like, that's the thing that gets me, man. Is like, do I think that there is times where violence has to be the answer? Unfortunately, yes. and that pains me to say because I really dislike violence. But like, yeah, if you're being, like, yeah, if you're being tortured and like starved and stuff, yeah, you're gonna take violence because that's all you got. You can't like debate your way out of that, you know? This is a podcast. Like, that's the thing that just kind of gets me. Is like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are like, I don't know. I just hold the perspective of I think I'm not gonna cheer that on. I'm not gonna mourn him either because I don't think he was. I think if I'm gonna mourn you, you have to be a good person while you're alive, you know? But yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that as soon as this happened, I was just like, okay, fuck, they're gonna turn him into a martyr and they're gonna use this to champion like going super hard into not only more government surveillance of like what people post and what people discuss with each other, but also like furthering trying to like call left groups like terror cells and all that kind of stuff. And yup, immediately. And that's why like my initial reaction after, you know, watching it and seeing and being like, okay, yeah, he's like immediately dead, basically. It was just like, this really isn't gonna fucking benefit anybody. This isn't gonna benefit anybody. And like, it's I don't like death in general. Like, I wish my dream would be like if we could do some Star Trek style, have a fucking moment and everyone can live regardless of their, you know, physical differences and everything, and we could all be happy. That's not sadly gonna ever happen. So like, you know, unfortunately not. And so despite the fact that I don't like, you know, death and violence, I think the thing that I kind of dislike the most is especially when it's meaningless. Because I feel like if there's at least some kind of meaning, you know, I could maybe understand. But with this, it's just kind of like, it's just gonna give them an opportunity to make, like, the country even more Gestapo-like, and I don't know, it's just unfortunate. Like, I also think it, you know, establishes, like, a scary precedent for, political speakers in general. Because, like, I feel like a lot of people, like, obviously during like civil rights and stuff, that was really common, you know, to do that to like speakers. But I feel like we kind of like died down from that a bit, and I kind of worry about it revving up a little bit, you know. Most murders in general, like especially for mass shootings, always sending some sort of message, but never changes anything. Thing is, there wasn't really even a message about this one too, you know. It was just he didn't like him, pretty much, from what I've gathered. It's just he didn't like him and thought he was a piece of shit, and he just was doing the like, I'm gonna free the world of one less piece of shit. And I'm like, okay, dumbass. Like, cool, you opened the fucking floodgates. Like, okay, what the fuck was your oh, you know, it's just the whole situation is stupid. It's stupid, and yeah, it's stupid, frankly, and just a waste in my mind. And uh from what I know, his family is very hard conservative. I don't know, he was also a registered Republican to what I saw, but I don't know if he still is. They're trying to claim that he has like, his roommate was like his roommate and like girlfriend was like a trans girl. So they're trying to claim that like he went to college and got like really woke or something. Here's the thing. I don't get him. I don't know if it is left. Yeah, he did write Owo looks. He did write like Owo sees bulge. What's that on the bullet? Because he thought it would be funny. I did see that because there's like Discord messages of him that have been put out. Yes, that is true. He did do that. Diabolical work, frankly. Like that's real psycho shit that you write fucking furry lingo on a bullet. My perspective, I think it's stupid no matter which demographic the person was from that did it. I just think it was stupid to do no matter what, and like a waste to do no matter what. You know? Helldivers codes, Nick Fuentes, me and Furby, random. Yeah, he kind. Oh Jesus Christ! What the fuck was that? I don't know what the fuck that was. uh, yeah, he kind of just. I feel like just threw everything. It's very like Reddit. He seemed very Reddit, if you get what I mean. Uh, I don't know. He kind of, it's probably, in my opinion, I think gonna be more of he doesn't really have a consistent ideology. He's just a dude who vaguely believes in a few things. I also, here's another thing too that I'm gonna say. I don't think so either. Yeah, and it was fucking brutal, and I don't, yeah. Oh, it was just my model skizzed out. That's all it was. I went to move my hair behind my shoulder, and my model like skizzed the fuck out for a second there. Yeah, it was. I don't think anyone should like that. That's also like I will say too something I want to mention that I think is really gross, and this is specifically a comment towards liberals right now that's really making me uncomfortable, and I don't think they realize how this sounds. For me also, watching the video is really fucking hard because, you know, I don't like to look at footage of people dying like a normal person. So when I see that, it's upsetting because that's a person, dog. You know, like, I'm sorry that I didn't spend my free time trying to purposely desensitize myself on Lively to be like, gore doesn't bother me. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be bothered by seeing a video of someone dying because that's a person, bro. Like, crazy thought. Seeing a person die is fucked up and kind of like a lot to take in, you know? So like throwing that out there right out the gate. Cause I watched the video and I was immediately like, oh fuck, okay, alright. That's in my brain forever. I still over the coming days when mentioned see it and I hate it. I wish I never saw the video. I think it's unfortunate that that video is gonna be out there because listen, I don't, you know, fuck Charlie Kirk's wife. I don't like that. I don't like her. But like, I feel for his like two small children who will one day see that. Because that sucks. And that's upsetting to me. I feel for the little girls, not I don't give a fuck about the wife. I'll get into her in a minute. Because I got a lot to say about that subject. I will say that I don't like a lot of the rhetoric I've seen coming from liberals and some leftists about like people expressing that like the video was upsetting to them because, you know, it's watching a human die. And they're trying to pull the card of like, it doesn't bother me anymore because of the amount of fucking horrific footage I've seen from Gaza and you know, Charlie Kirk cheered on the death of Palestinians, so why would I care after seeing that? And I'm like, okay, yeah, Charlie Kirk did cheer on the death of Palestinians because he's gross. We all know that. For the love of fucking God, please don't treat the fucking horrific footage and videos of people in Gaza as like a gotcha, I'm desensitized to gore. Please, for the love of God, don't do that. That is so dehumanizing. Like, that is such a dehumanizing thing to say that, like, I've seen this group of people dead so much that, like, I'm just desensitized from it. Like, what? Don't say that. I've seen so many people say that, and I don't think they realize, like, how fucked up that is to say of, like, yeah, Toasty, no problem. I'm not gonna say that people are weak or something, not liking gore, but I've never reacted strongly to seeing it. No, it's, some people just aren't, and that's fine. But it kind of has, like, I think you can still, though, understand that, yeah, seeing a video up close of someone getting shot and immediately dying is, like, a lot for some people. And to treat, like, I watch this ethnic group that's being genocided, and I've seen so much footage of their genocide that, like, I'm just desensitized to death. That's not the fucking own you think it. Please stop using the horrific acts against Palestinians as, like, a debate gotcha. Like, I fucking hate that. I really hate that. Like, I get it. You're trying to do the, like, Charlie didn't care about Palestinians, you know? So, like, why would I care about him dying? But, like, no, because guess what? You're just dehumanizing them and then basically treating them as, like, as I think a lot of people, especially liberals, have this, they treat Palestinians as if the only thing they can do is suffer, and I hate that. I really hate that. Like, there's this, you know, I'm on K-pop Twitter, you know? I'm on K-pop Twitter, and this girl posted that she was going to a concert, and she had her passport, like, in the thing, and it said Palestine on it. And hold on, why did my tracking just die? It said Palestine on it. And there was a lot of people who were, I'm just fixing my tracking, so give me a second. Like, how are you Palestinian and you're getting on a plane to go to a concert right now? Like, you know, shouldn't you be, they were basically like, shouldn't you be in, you know, Gaza right now? And she was like, hey guys, you know, we can do more than just suffer, and, you know, we actually have lives and hobbies and things that we like to do and stuff. And oh my god, what the fuck? Okay, what the fuck is up with my tracking? That's so weird. Okay, maybe I'll restart it, because I don't know why it just killed itself. Yeah, it's, because, like, personally, like, I try my best to be educated on, like, Gaza. I can't look at a lot of the stuff because I just can't handle it, because I hate seeing humans in peril. I hate it. You know? I hate it. I can't do it. I can't handle that. It's not something I've ever been able to handle. Okay, are we good now? Okay, I think this is better. Yeah, it's, well, the thing too is she was from Gaza. It's just she managed to get out, you know? So. Hmm. It's just, to me, I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of that kind of rhetoric of the, like, I see all the destruction from Gaza, therefore, you know, I can, why would I feel bad about this? And it's like, that's, please don't use one of the most horrific things that is happening on the planet as some kind of gotcha, like, especially because, like, it's just so dehumanizing. And especially when I see like Americans saying it or like Europeans saying it, to put it bluntly, because I feel like there's another layer there of like I do kind of feel like there is still some people who do support the cause who still kind of see them as like different because of the fact that they're like Muslim and stuff. And I feel like that kind of, when I hear that kind of stuff coming from some liberals, it's kind of like I don't know. It feels kind of like you don't really see them as human, I guess, fully, even if you say you do, because like that's not something you say about humans, bro. But yeah, I will say also for me, oh, I will say a lot of people I think are gonna try to be like they need to clap the guy on the terrorism charge. That's not gonna happen. Um, I highly fucking doubt, because there's not really there's not a way to justify it. Like first degree murder, yeah, but like that's another thing a lot of people don't realize, and this kind of gets into another aspect of it, is to put it bluntly, I feel like some people shouldn't be talking about this because, to put it truthfully, they don't really know shit. It's like kind of pretentious as that might sound, like, you know, like for example, when and I felt this too with Luigi's case, of when people throw around like, oh, are they gonna get a terrorism charge? Are they gonna get a terrorism charge? And it's like, as someone who studied that, terrorism charges are like the fucking hardest thing to slap on someone. Like, if you want someone to guarantee go to jail, go to prison, don't even attempt to bring up a terrorism charge 99% of the time. Don't fucking do it. Like, why? Because, for one, there's no unifying definition of terrorism. Like, there's the basic, like, yeah, I'm like the basic, obviously everyone thinks of just like, I dislike something, so I'm going to do a violent act to represent that, you know, but in academia and all this stuff, there is no uniform definition for terrorism. It doesn't exist. We've been trying to make one for like 40 fucking years. It don't exist. So it's really hard to get someone on a terrorism charge when terrorism as a subject is so vague and so, you know, there's like, there's a lot of things that can be like, not every violent act carried out against someone, even for political reasons, is necessarily terrorism, you know? And it also depends entirely on who you ask. Some people, just because the fact that, you know, Charlie was a non-combatant, would consider that an act. But at the same time, then, you have the aspect of, well, he wasn't doing it in a way to get back at a state or an organization. He was just doing man-on-man, one-on-one. You know, he wasn't doing it because he wanted to take down Turning Point. He wasn't doing it because he wanted to make Donald Trump cry, you know? He was doing it because he just fucking hated that guy. Like, you know, so the whole, like, well, he's a non-combatant, so that must mean it's terror. Like, no, that doesn't really fit then, because that's just, he just hated that dude. He just hated that dude, you know? Like, because even, like, with the Luigi Mangione case, I knew they were not going to get him on terrorism because of how vague it is. The judge has officially said that they are not going to they're not going to do a terrorism charge. There is not enough evidence for it. And some people were like, "Oh my god, really?" And I was like, yeah, "Duh." You know? Like, even in a case, like, to give context of how difficult it is to prove it, even in a case where it is a guy allegedly assassinating the CEO of a healthcare company because he hates the practices, even that is incredibly fucking difficult to prove, you know? So like to give context, because the average person thinks that terrorism is a very cut and dry, easy to prove thing, and it's not. Because also, like, you can also still cause domestic terror without being a domestic terrorist, if you get what I mean, you know? Your specific actions might not be enough to can classify you as that, but it still disturbed the nation enough to, like, where you would classify the act as, like, yeah, it terrorized the public to a degree there, but it's not enough, you know. That's the difficulty, and that's what I wish a lot of people who didn't fucking know things would kind of, like, zip it a little bit, because I don't know, I've seen a lot of people throwing around a lot of, like, he's gonna get this charge, and this charge, and this, and then this was, I'm seeing, like, politicians talking about, like, this was an act of domestic terror, and I'm like, that's just gonna fearmonger people, because this is not an act of domestic terror, like, I don't know, that's also just kind of bothered me as, like, someone who, I feel like there's some conversations that the average person maybe just should not be involved in, as pretentious as that sounds. Like, I don't know. Yeah, that's something about it that's also just been kind of, like, grinding my gears personally as someone who studies it, is just like, you don't know enough to talk about this. Hi, Crusader. And that makes me want to, like, just, like, rah. Totally real when you know a lot of a subject, it breaks your brain to hear every normie's garbo opinion. Yeah, especially because, like, even other academics, you know, basically, like, even in the political science world, basically everyone who just doesn't study terrorism, even they still don't have the greatest opinions on it, you know? And so, kind of like, all right, and to be fair, maybe that's also part of the reason too why I tend to have a, like, I see the grander picture because that's what I study. So when, like, acts like assassinations and stuff happen, I tend to think of it from a perspective of also, like, okay, what are the perceived benefits that this individual might think that they're going to get from having done this, you know? Like, what was it that potentially could have made them feel like, all right, I'm gonna do this violent act, you know? What did they think they were gonna get out of it? And since there was nothing meaningful I could gather from that dude, I was like, yeah, no. It's true though, unfortunately, you know? I mean, like, if you're living in, like, you know, like, look at Palestine, you know? Like, for people like that, where it's not like they can debate their way out of it being genocided, you know? Like, obviously, those people are going to weigh the benefits of, if I do a violent act, what could it potentially do? Because, like, I'm not gonna debate my way out of being genocided, you know? Like, things like that. But again, he was a podcaster, so, like, you know, what the fuck? He's no John Wilkes Booth, that's... Yeah, like, there was no actual goal, or, like, I'm doing this because I think XYZ will happen, and that, like, to put it bluntly, even if he is a leftist or a liberal, I don't even necessarily think that, like, he was doing this because he thought it was gonna do some, like, big political gains. I think he just thought the dude sucked, and he was kind of nutty. Like, I really think it kind of just comes down to that. He just didn't like him and thought he sucked and had shit opinions, and he was kind of nutty. And sometimes that's all it takes. Yeah, bye slime. Especially considering the guy was, you know, raised around fucking insane guns and shit from a gun-toting American family, you know? Like, yeah, that kid probably does have a way crazier mindset than a lot of people, man. You know, like, maybe we shouldn't expose our kids to that, because America has clearly showed that we can't use our guns right, you know? America is a deeply violent society, you know? Because I also had the same opinion when Trump got shot, of like a lot of people being like, oh fuck, he missed or something. But I immediately was like, it would be so much worse if he actually got assassinated. It would be infinitely fucking worse, because for one, that would mean we would be stuck with JD Vance as the president, which, two, he becomes a martyr. Three, it's basically they're going to try to do civil war, which is what they're trying to do right now. Like, literally, we have active politicians right now calling for a civil war for a podcaster, you know? Which is, like, crazy. Exactly. It's the same reason most shootings go, you know, it's just out of hate, more or less reason. Rarely it's out of political reasons. Yeah, because most people who do this are so nutty, they don't really even have a cohesive political ideology. They just vaguely believe in a few things, and sometimes those things are contradictory and don't even make sense. Wild story time at a gun show in the early 2000s, there would be guys carrying signs with names and addresses of the FBI agents who participated at Waco and Ruby Ridge, calling for patriots to do the needful. Yep, that's Texas, baby. Mm-hmm. The mindset of the lone gunman solving random injustices is a normal mindset to them. Either that or racism. Yeah. That's another thing too, and I was kind of talking to Shiro about this because we talked about it after, and you know, I was like, yeah, I don't like violence, and because it kind of goes against my worldview of, like I said, of empathy, and I like to hold out the belief that anybody can change for the better, because I feel like if you don't hold that opinion, it's gonna be a lot darker, you know. But I talked to him about, like, because obviously Shiro's Canadian, and like America is a very violent society. And, you know, he kind of, like, he has a very similar opinion to I do, in that in terms of America and their gun problems, like, maybe a pistol for, like, self-defense purposes if you feel you need it, and then if you're a hunter and you can, like, prove that you're a hunter, you have a license and all that stuff, you can have, like, a hunting rifle and shit like that. That's it. And, like, and gun ranges can have the fun stuff, and if you want to go play with the fun stuff, you can go to a place where there's experts who have it all locked up very securely, and then they can make sure that you use it right, and then they take it from you before you leave, you know? Like, we both hold a very similar opinion that, like, that's kind of how America needs to go about guns, because just, they can't be trusted. And, like, personally, I don't like gun ranges in general, but I know a lot of dudes just don't want to let up their toys, because they do treat guns like toys. So, like, that's my compromise, is like, okay, the gun ranges can have them then. And you can go rent one and give it back. Because yeah, like you said, the mindset of the lone gunman, that's, you know, and I think also a thing too is it's a very male centric issue, as bad as that sounds, because I mean, even just statistically, women in America are significantly less likely to commit large acts of violence like that. It's also, I think, specifically ingrained in a lot of men, the idea, the, like, fantasy of, like, like, a lot of guys in America talk about the fantasy of, like, an active shooter coming in, and then they get to act like fucking Rambo and protect their family, and, like, pull out the gun and neutralize the shooter and blah blah blah. Like I feel like there's a lot of guys that kind of get that them turning into an action hero and saving the day fantasy, because the drill for an active shooter is to run the opposite direction. Yeah. But that's the thing, is a lot of them think that, you know, they have that fantasy. They have the I'm gonna protect, I'm gonna be the guy, you know, like there's a lot. That's why I truly think that there's a lot of trigger happy dudes in the. That's why you hear of cases of like kids getting shot doing like ding dong ditch at night and stuff, because these dudes legitimately, they're like itching for the, to put it bluntly, they're itching for the chance to murder someone, because like they're like, I hope it's a burglar at my door so I can shoot them and kill them and be the hero. I'm hoping that this sus guy in the store is trying to plan a violent act and not possibly just a homeless or mentally ill person that just doesn't look the way I think, you know? Like, I think that's also just a very dude thing in America, because I think a lot of, you know, a lot of dudes in America are kind of raised with this very traditional, like, you have to protect the family, and a lot of the movies you grow up with are like the guy that will literally fucking guns blazing go through everything to protect his loved one, you know? And I feel like a lot of them kind of internalize that, and then that mixed with how gun culture is so like prevalent and crazy in this country, it's just like a really bad mix, you know? Like, obviously there's a lot of dudes who still have that fantasy and have like love those movies and stuff in other countries, but it's just like, specifically because America also has the gun problem, it makes it worse, you know? It exacerbates it because it's easier to kill someone with a gun than with a knife, you know? I couldn't handle the fact that I was helping arm these people and I got rid of all my guns with the compact one, not to mention I was getting gayer and gayer, they did not like that, yeah. I don't think it's expressly American. I think it's just pretty common Andrew Tate psychology. No, it is, but like I said, it is still a thing. Like I said, other countries too have that, because, you know, you're raised the same thing. It's just because America's, once it mixes with the American gun culture, it creates a really bad storm, because American gun culture preys on that. It preys on dudes who, a lot of American like gun culture and what gets guys into gun culture, a lot of it is straight up fear-based, like, are you gonna be able to protect your family? You know, like, you're not gonna be able to protect your family if you get into this. Do you want to be a bad husband and father? You know, that's why they do this whole, like, you're gonna move out to the city, you need to buy a bunch of guns because people are gonna try to kill your wife and child, you know? And, like, obviously that's gonna scare the fuck out of them, and then, you know, yeah, in my day, in my dad's day, people would fist fight. These days, that's literally why I had to tell my dad when he's driving down the street, don't fucking yell at these dudes in your car because they will shoot you, you know? Like, from his day, people would get out of their cars and fucking fight in the parking lot. People will just shoot you nowadays, bro. Don't do that, you know? Like, don't do that, dad. People are fucking so trigger happy nowadays. Because also, I will say it too, I know it's kind of funny, a lot of people have like talked about like also with the like, if we ban guns, we'll just be like the UK and have like more knife violence. But it's kind of funny because the US already has more knife violence than the UK per capita. So like, really, like, bro, we're already there. Like, what the fuck's the point? We're already there, bro. Like, did you really think people still weren't shanking each other on top of the guns? Like, they're still doing it, you know? Some people have their preference. Like, it's kind of just everyone escalated. You also gotta admit to keep yourself safe. I mean, the thing is, a lot a lot of it too though is like, people don't realize how safe a lot of American cities are. And they think that these cities are, like, for example, something like Chicago. Oh my god, their murder rate is so high or something, you know? And the number is like 7 a week, I think, which is the lowest it's been in a couple years. And when you think of the fact that like millions upon million, like there's like what 7 million people in Chicago or something, isn't it like it's like the fourth largest city in the country? Let me see. In the direct city of Chicago, there's 3 million people. 7 sucks because that's 7 people, you know? But I think a lot of people don't realize that, like, that's like maybe 1,000 a year out of 3 million. Which, not saying that's good, but I think a lot of people think that, like, fucking hundreds of people are dying every week in Chicago because they're being murdered and shit, you know? Like, when you actually look at the legit numbers, it's not an insane number. It still sucks because it's, you know, it's people, but, you know, it's kind of like the thing of, I feel like a lot of people have this moment too, where like when a lot of people finally learn that only like 3,000 people died in 9/11. Unfortunate, super sad, people dying. But I feel like a lot of people think that significantly more people died in 9/11 than people died, you know? Because of how much emphasis is put on it. I think you kind of think that it was like tens of thousands of people or something, you know? Yeah, and it's high compared to other places, but it's localized to small neighborhoods and gang violence. Yeah, it's not. That's the other thing too. And as someone who comes from a city that a lot of people tried to make seem more violent than it was, is that most of this violence, you know what neighborhood it happens in, so just don't fucking go there, bro. Just don't go there. You know? And also, even if you do want to go there, like, it also still doesn't mean it's a fucking war zone, because guess what? My college was in the shit, like, super shit-ass dangerous neighborhood of the city. I was fine. I rode the public transit with them every single day, practically. Yeah. They're normal fucking people, bro, you know? It's not an active war zone going on, you know? Like people like to make it out to be. They're still just people doing their daily. Depends on where you live in each city. It's going to be concentrated there. They're not going to be particularly likely, but you still don't want the risk, even if it's a small percent to me. It's like not wearing a seatbelt because the chance of crashing is low. I can't say it for America particularly, but I've experienced living in rural Britain. The difference too, though, is also that it's yeah, but also here's the thing. Yeah, there is more people, so yes, you are more likely to potentially run into violence because there's just more people. But also, it is a statistically proven thing that you are more likely to experience an act of violence from someone you know as opposed to a stranger. Like, you know, your friend being mugged by a rando is very rare. And I'm saying, like, my father's been mugged, you know, at gunpoint before. One time in his almost 60 years of life, you know. you are more likely to be attacked, to be robbed, to be killed, to be assaulted by someone you know personally than a random. Which is what makes this idea that a lot of, like, especially in America, of these, like, country guys go into the big cities, is they think that, like, everyone's gonna come and try to kill them and stuff, and it's like, no, you're more likely to end up getting killed by your buttfuck neighbor, okay? Like, I lived in a really bad neighborhood. I had a guy try to smash a window in my apartment with a knife, scared him off, but I was armed. I'm not religious, but I was praying I wouldn't shoot him. Yeah. Like I said, if you're the thing is just like if you're moving to a city, it's very fucking easy to look up what neighborhoods have the highest crime statistics and just don't move there. Then you're not gonna interact with those people, you know? Like, I don't know, maybe it's because I've spent my entire life in like metropolis level cities that for me that's kind of just like common sense information that I feel like a lot of people like don't understand of like studio apartment, and yeah, it's the only thing you could afford, then like yeah, you kind of just deal, you know, it's unfortunate, but you kind of just deal. But like the thing is though, people who've always lived there, because like I said, I had to live in a fucking shit ass apartment complex where when I looked up the sex offender registry, my fucking block lit up like a goddamn Christmas tree, okay? You know, that's the neighborhood I was in for college. Uh, I just didn't walk alone at night as a girl, and you know, I made sure to carry a taser and bear spray, and yeah, carried about my life because you know that's kind of just what you do, you know, like. But then again, also like I felt significantly more at risk of being harmed in rural areas than I ever did in a big city. Significantly worse. Significantly worse. I literally would ride transit with fucking homeless people that were like not there half the time because they were either on something or just mentally not doing great because we don't have good services here. I never felt worried about them, you know? Going to a fucking mom and pop bed and breakfast in a shit ass little rural town, oh, that was terrifying for me. Because those people looked at me with so much more judgment than anyone in that new neighborhood I moved into ever looked at me with. Because that's another thing too that I think a lot of rural people don't understand is that, you know, we can tell when we go to rural areas and y'all look at us like we're aliens because you don't recognize us, like, even though I look just like these people, but because they don't know who I am, it was like they would just stare at me and like whisper, and like I would see them like kind of following me, like looking around to see what I was doing, and it was so uncomfortable. Like, so fucking scary. Like, holy shit, that was so scary. Especially as a teenage girl. Like, that was so scary. I don't think a lot of rural people realize they do that kind of shit. And it is part of the reason why a lot of people are a little more kind of, why a lot of city people are more aggro, I guess you could say, to the rural communities, because a lot of rural communities like to just talk about how dog shit and violent cities are, but then you go to visit these communities and then they treat you like you have a third head, you know, like you're some kind of alien that's walking through their city, and it's so like uncomfortable. And God forbid, you know, you don't look like them or sound like them, you know? Like, my fucking mom, who's literally just a white ass woman, you know, she didn't even feel comfortable going to certain cities in Texas because she's Catholic. Like, just she didn't even feel comfortable going to certain fucking certain small towns just because she's Catholic, and she's like, that alone will make them be like, get out of here, you know? Gotta love being an Asian guy in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, I would. I feel for you on that. Uh, yeah. No, there's some towns in Texas that, you know, we got sundown towns still. And, well, I don't live there anymore, so I guess not we, but like there's sundown towns still in Texas, you know? Like, you you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. Also, I do another thing too. The overly aggressive trespassers will be shot. We don't call 911 type signs. Yep. Also, one of the things too that I think a lot of rural, especially, and this is a very American focused. I can't speak as much about other countries, but another like American focused thing is like very much this. I watched a lot of shows growing up about like rural crime cases that never got solved, and the amount of these small ass little towns that are like, we're such a peaceful town, no crime ever happens here. Something really horrific happens there and it never gets prosecuted. Why? Because they all fucking know each other. And the sheriff doesn't want to prosecute his son, or like the fucking like nobody wants to be the one to rat him out or something, or just we all kind of didn't like that guy, you know. The amount of like stuff that these like really small towns just shove under the rug because they all know each other is crazy. The amount of like this murder case just never got solved because the police just, it was his brother that did it, and why is the one sheriff in town gonna prosecute his brother, you know? That's not gonna happen, you know? And like I find that stuff kind of, that's why I find sometimes stuff like that kind of funny when I see people from like back when I lived in Texas, when I would see like small town Texas people talking about like how there's crime. Yeah, Hot Fuzz. Hot Fuzz is a really good movie. It's to the point of the safest towns are the biggest lies. Yeah, Hot Fuzz is a really funny movie. Yeah, a lot of them when they talk about like how big the big city is and stuff, it's like, okay, but at least like 90% of the time the person will still get arrested. Like the amount of small towns where it's just like if your cousin's the fucking cop, you're good, you know? Like you know, they're not gonna fucking do that. Like, they're not gonna do that shit, you know? So, like, I don't know about, I don't really like that. I don't, especially too, like, those are the kind of towns too where you get like one family that kind of has like a sort of like weird local style like monarchy on the town too, and those are always real weird, you know? Like those towns where there's just like one family that kind of runs everything, you know? No one has ever been charged for a DUI in Harrison County because the deputy is plastered 24/7. Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's shit like that, you know, that just is kind of like, you know, okay, like, I don't know. I think also it's just like, yeah, I think a lot of it is just also a lot of fear mongering against them, but it's unfortunate, you know? It's unfortunate. I feel like fear mongering is just one of the biggest problems we have in America, because, like, that kind of leads back to the Charlie Kirk conversation, because I kind of want to get into something that's been, like, that I think is a really depressing reality that I hope could maybe break through to some of these, like, right groiper, like, type of dudes is, like, seeing the reaction that people who knew Charlie are having to this, I think has been, honestly, the best way I can describe it is just kind of just soul crushing. Uh, Seeing that, you know, he dedicated his entire life, basically, because Charlie Kirk started in college. He started at college, and his whole point was to try to get college kids into American conservatism. He started young, uh, doing this. I think he was like 21, 22 when he started properly. Um, he dedicated basically his whole life to this cause to the point where he literally, like, to put it bluntly, he died for the cause. He literally died mid-debate for the cause, you know? And everyone from his co-workers to politicians that he knew to his own wife even are just treating this as a martyr in a way to further push their political agenda of waging war on the left, you know? Like, they stripped any personhood that he could have had. No matter no matter how much dedication and literally dying for it, none of those people truly saw him as a person, and they still just at the end of the day saw him as a pawn, and that was it. And I think that's a really depressing realization, I feel like, for the average person of, you know, doing all this, and then all those people you sacrificed, you know, your public perception, relationships you could have had, opportunity, all that stuff, none of them gave a fuck about you. All of them are immediately just posting about how we need to declare civil war on the left, and, like, we're gonna put statues of you up, and your wife is trying to do, like, fucking war cry speeches in your office and is immediately asking people for donations even though you guys are very wealthy. Like, that's just, like, very... I hope for a lot of people that are in those kind of ideologies, I hope even for at least a couple of them, that's a sign of why you shouldn't, of, like, how lonely those ideologies are. But I got the feeling Kirk would have... Oh no, Charlie Kirk would have done the... Charlie Kirk literally would have done the same. Charlie Kirk also 100%, if it was a leftist that got shot, he would have been saying some shit. Okay, Charlie Kirk has literally said that school shootings are just a unfortunate reality of us having guns, and we gotta deal. Like, no. But I just mean so more so in the aspect of just, like, to me it shows... I've always said that, like, these far-right ideologies are very lonely, and it preys on a lot of people wanting a sense of community, but these people don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you. And this is a perfect example of that. He did so much for them. He dedicated his life to them. And they don't see him as a person in any sense of the word, basically. Because what really did it for me is, surprisingly, Candace Owens, who's another Republican influencer, she was the only person that posted, like, photos of them together and little videos of them singing in her car and, like, stuff that actually was like, okay, this is clearly someone mourning her friend. Like, she cared about him, and she was really seemingly the only one that did. Which is ironic on so many ways, because, you know, Candace Owens is a black woman, and Charlie Kirk has said so many heinous things, you know, but I mean, she plays along with it, so, you know, but that to me was just, like, a very interesting thing of, you know, I hope for maybe some people who were not, who were still on the fringes of maybe kind of getting into that kind of ideology, that this could maybe show to them how you might think these people care about you and that you're gonna find a community and stuff, but they don't. They only care about you if you're useful, and they treat you like a pawn, and they don't see you as a person, you know? I often find myself surprised with her. Candace Owens is a very interesting person. I mean, a lot of people don't know that Candace Owens originally, like, the thing she got famous for was suing her school for racial discrimination, you know? Candace Owens was not always a conservative. She was one of those, like, I pivoted to the conservative side. That was, like, her niche, along with being a black woman, obviously. I don't know. A lot of people have the opinion that Candace Owens might just be a grifter. I kind of agree. To be, like, I kind of agree. I definitely think she, you know, does believe some of it, but I also think she's kind of just a grifter and is just doing what she, you know, doing what she can to get the bag. Like a lot of Republican influencers. Because, like, oh, you want to play a fun game? Look up a Republican influencer and then look up if they have a profile on an acting site. I guarantee you 8 out of 10 of them do. Because there is a shockingly large amount of Republican influencers who tried to make it in Hollywood and they basically got told, no, you can't. And so they then started going into making right-wing political content. Looks at Steven Crowder, looks at Ben Shapiro, looks at Candace Owens, you know. Like, all of those people tried to make it in Hollywood, you know. You can be a grifter and still believe it. I think it's like, yeah, you still can. Like I said, I think she believes some of the shit. Like, I definitely think she believes some of it. I just don't think she believes all of it. I think she's bought her own sauce on some of the stuff, but I do think in the lineup, she's probably the one that, in my opinion, I think is just spouting shit for the bag the most, you know? Another one is, like, I don't think Ben Shapiro believes a lot of what he says, truthfully. I think he does believe I think there's definitely some shit he does believe. I think some of it he is just spewing because that's the talking point. And he knows it's, you know, because he's not a stupid person, as much as I hate to admit it, you know? Because there's also a lot of conspiracy theories going around, like, you know, like Candace Owens right now is kind of spearheading some about Charlie. I will say, yeah, I don't know, that was just a really interesting thing for me of, like, I guess since I study radicalization and, you know, domestic terrorism and stuff, for me, that kind of stuff is always just really interesting. And, like, my major project that I did in college was I spent months looking through incel forums. And when I say, like, incel forums, I don't just mean, like, a Reddit page or something. I mean, like, I went to these specific forums and I spent months sitting there documenting them and their posts and their behavior. And there is a large amount of, like, and the reason why it's kind of like why I have the belief of when I say, like, I think people can change, because a lot of these people that get into these kind of ideologies, a lot of it is just because they, especially in America, we're a very individualist society, and we're losing this sense of community, and a lot of people are, you know, desperate for that, and they're willing to get that wherever they need. And there's a lot of guys that get into, like, incel groups just because they don't have friends, and these guys seem to be accepting of them, even with their quote-unquote flaws, whatever they think it is. And one thing that was a really depressing thing is there were a couple users that I followed that joined seemingly around this time I started viewing the the page, and I watched some of them just fall deeper and deeper into it, and then there was some that I watched that, like, after a bit made posts being kind of like, I think I want to leave because this, like, you guys are saying some really scary things, and it's kind of hurting my mental health, and I don't know if this is really healthy, guys. And the way, just making a very, like, I'm kind of considering leaving the community because even though, like, you guys have, like, been supporting me, I feel like it's not the healthiest for me. And watching these guys that they have been quote unquote supporting him immediately turn around like a pack of wild dogs and just being like, you should fucking kill yourself, actually, if you want to leave. Like, because no one else is going to ever love you. This is all you got. We're all you got. And it's never going to change. Do you want to go back to being fucking lonely? Because you are. Because this is it, buddy. This is it. And watching them just, like, basically just mentally, like, hold these guys' arms behind their backs to, like, manipulate them to stay. It happens so often. That's why, like, when I see these groups, I'm not gonna say the name of the platform because you don't want to go there. It is, they are also they are very prone to going out and attacking people. I never posted or anything. I purely just viewed because if they could, like, to give context of how hard these dudes relegate their fucking thing, they fucking check every single username that joins every single day to verify. And if they even sense that you're not a dude, especially if they sense that you're not a cishet guy, yeah, they will, for one, first, they will make multiple public threads, basically, where they all throw tomatoes at you and tell you to kill yourself and call you every slur imaginable. Some of them send videos and images of, like, really disturbing things, and then they ban you. So, no, I'm not gonna say the name of the platform because you don't want to go there. But, and it's not Big Four, it's not what you might think, it's something else, but they have their own specific thing. That's the thing is, like, seeing that, it, for me, really put into perspective, too, of how many of these people that are in these groups, that are in these far beliefs, these far right ideologies, are actually truly in it, or they just feel like they have nothing else. And they have to just accept that this is my life now. I put myself in this and now I have to make my bed and lie in it and I'm stuck here now, So I try to approach with openness to them because there's a chance if they are one of those people, maybe they could sense then that no, they can get out of that. And that that's not all they have. They are able to have meaningful interactions outside of these dudes, and there is more to that, because also a lot of these guys too are young. A lot of them are teenagers, early 20s, like, some of them on there were younger, some of them were like middle schoolers, which was terrifying. And no, it was probably the hardest project I had done in my time, because, like, to give context, like, I literally had a whole spreadsheet open where, like, I could go, I mean, actually, if you want, like, I can, like, read through, I'm not gonna read specific posts or anything like that, but, like, I can kind of, to give context, like, of showing just some of the stuff that, like, I had a whole spreadsheet where basically, like, if a certain thing was said, I would tick it in like a little box and be like, yep, okay, there we go, they said that. So I could make a data table to show like, okay, they mention this X times, they mention this X times, these are the primary subjects, all that kind of stuff. To give context of like the kind of stuff I kept track of was trigger warning, I'm not gonna say anything super graphic, but it's still yikes. I kept track of any slurs used. The most common were, you know, N-word, words for women, words for Asian people, Indian people, things like that. Threads about if there were specific messages of discouraging them from leaving the community, mentions of suicide, mentions of wanting to commit incest, mentions of intense homophobia, mentions of bestiality, mentions of specific calls to violence towards people, pedo stuff mentioned, rape mentioned, specific mentioning of incels that have like committed violent like mass shootings and things like that. If they mentioned them as like a way to like praise them, I took that down. That was the kind of shit I was recording for my project. That's what I was looking at for like 4 fucking months straight, was a community where that's the kind of stuff I was documenting. So that was like also super great for me mentally. That was so wonderful. Yeah, one thing I noticed that was a very concerning thing for me is the amount of guys on incel forums that fantasize, to put it bluntly, about having a daughter, and I'll just leave it at that. Because that's a very common thing that they discuss on those, and that is, yeah. And like, I will say too, and specifically mentioning like the animal part, that wasn't really because they were talking about doing that. That is because they do the classic, like, claiming that women engage with animals because they hate women. It was that. It wasn't them talking about engaging like that. It was them saying, like, women are whores, so they will have sex with anything, and blah, blah, blah. Because that's, like, a common fantasy. I want to say fantasy because I feel like it's a fucking fantasy at that point. That a lot of those guys have of, like, women engaging in sexual nature with things like that. That was a common thing. A lot of them just talk about wanting to assault women and wanting to beat women, and like they would literally just post like a random TikTok of a girl and then talk about how they want to beat her, like straight up, like like they would just straight up be like, yeah, she did. The thing for me that like it's the one for me that, and then also, yeah, they are very hardcore homophobic. So there were a couple guys on the forum that realized they were gay or realized they were bisexual. Yeah, no, that shit was not received well. I'll fucking tell you that, you know. Like, that was also crazy. Um I stopped talking to a guy for that. He wished he had a sister for that reason. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I will say too that like for me there was still one post that like, because I know the specific one, gay conversion therapy. No, their version of gay conversion therapy was they told him to kill yourself. That was their perspective. They didn't believe in that shit. They wanted you to die. Like it was really fucked up. It was really gruesome. Uh that's what I mean of like these places are, they basically goad guys into a like, we're gonna be an accepting community of bros to help you out. And it's the most vile, horrific people that will turn on you that instantly, like, you're not exactly what they want you to be. And at that point, that you feel like you're so deep into it that you just accept their extreme, like, mental abuse, basically. It's really fucked up. There was also a lot of, like, non-white guys on those that started, they would even refer to themselves as, like, slurs, because that made them, like, essentially one of the good ones, you could say, in terms of the community. Like, they wanted to still fit in and show that, like, they're not a pussy, so they would start referring to themselves with the same slurs that the white users would use against them, and it was crazy, bro. It was crazy. Like, for me, I still remember the one thread that, like, really fucked me up. That kind of behavior in normal male groups like construction workers or soldiers, yep. Um, if anyone knows the... if anyone knows the case of, Junko Furuta, uh, yeah, that was discussed on the forums, and that, for those who don't know, it was a 17-year-old girl that was kidnapped and tortured for months, and it was extremely heinous, and it is one of the most brutal. I'm not even gonna get into the details because it was genuinely, like, one of the most horrific cases of violence against women and girls that has happened. She was brought up, and the discussions they had was just, you know, saying she deserved it, saying they wish they could have participated, things of that sort, saying they wished they could see pictures, things like that. I will always remember that specific thread, because when I read that, like, I literally had to step away from my computer, and I just remember crying for like 20 minutes. Because it's just, like, so, you know, as a woman, to read that and to know that, like, these are guys that just are living amongst, and they think so lowly of you just because, you know, you have a vagina, to put it bluntly, you know? Like, I'm fairly desensitized and I can't think about it. It was just a horrific, brutal act against a child because she was 17, you know? That was, like, a really rough thing for me, and that was, like, the one that like will always stay with me, was that specific thread, because for me it was just, like, a real, like, in that moment, truly, I was just like, how do we come back from this? Like, at that point, what can you do about that person, you know? And I still don't fully know, truthfully. I'm not gonna pretend to know, because it's kind of thing that makes you think, are you sure Jesus died for all our sins? That one too, you sure? Yeah. Because, like, I will say, like, the hard thing is, like, about studying poli-sci and about my specific area is, like, put it bluntly, it's just incredibly depressing. And that's why, like, I don't honestly get too into it sometimes, because like I don't want to be like a downer, but like yes, this is what I would spend hours a day studying every day for months. This these are the communities that I was monitoring. And like that was really hard. It was really hard. I thought about changing my project many and many times because it was really fucking hard, because you kind of just want to turn on the blinders and pretend that it doesn't exist and go la 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 la, but like you can't. And I feel like, because kind of for me, what made me decide to pursue that stuff was I felt like that I knew enough about it that I had to commit to it, because a lot of people just don't know, and a lot of people, if they found out, would immediately go, nope, fuck that. That shit is miserable, and not want to engage with it. And I completely understand, because sometimes I want to do that too, but someone's gotta do it. And yeah, when you have important work to do and you know someone has to do it, it's a burden you're willing to take on. Yeah, especially when I interact with some of my professors, and like my media and politics professor didn't even know who Alex Jones was, for example. Like, which for those who might not know that name off the top of your head, turning the frogs gay. There you go. That's all I'll say. That's all the context you really need. Um, that for me was even like, you're a media and politics professor and you don't even know who Alex Jones is? Like, holy shit. Academia is so far behind in terms of catching up with how fucking quick the internet is moving in regards to the political sphere of academia is 20 years behind when it comes to the politics and the internet. No, I'm not even fucking joking. It's genuinely like really stressful. They're so fucking far behind. They don't even know, like, a lot of my professors think that like Reddit is the most popular platform, you know? Like they don't, like that's their uh where they start and stop. And a lot of them really only know it of the instance of like they look at it as, well, older people are the ones who typically statistically are more politically engaged, therefore we're going to focus on social media platforms that older people use, like Facebook and Reddit and things like that. When I think that focus has been what was so horrific, because since they focused on the areas where they know the primary politically active demographic is, it created a void on all of these other platforms that the youth uses of people who don't engage with politics but maybe could be curious or maybe just want to but can't, and there's someone who will fill that fucking void. And it's not going to be some news channel that's posting on Facebook too. It's not your local news channel with a Reddit page. No, it's Alex Jones, it's Nick Fuentes, it's people like that, you know. Because they're the ones that are going to take charge of that, and they're basically going to get the first pick of the crop of the youth, because they're going to basically be completely unchecked in terms of presence on the platform. And as a result, a lot of young teenage boys got swayed into these groups, and now political analysts are trying to figure out, why are so many Gen Z boys significantly more right-wing than even millennial men, and especially compared to Gen Z girls, you know, and millennial women. you know, and it's because of that. It's like because Gamergate happened and it blew the fucking doors open in a way. Like obviously there had always been like the Alex Jones types even before that, but then when Gamergate happened, it blew the doors wide open, and it was just the perfect fucking, like they just led teenagers like lambs to the slaughter to these creators. And now they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. They don't even know most of these creators. By the, like, I'm not even joking, by the time mainstream media seemed to figure out who Fuentes was, I'd already known about him for 4 fucking years, you know? Like, you're too fucking late, bro. You're too late. With those kind of things, like, you have to snip it in the bud, and they haven't done that. They haven't done that at all. And Gamergate is right around Warhammer got overrun by incels too. That shit sent shockwaves. Yeah, no, I've done so much. Part of my paper was like the incel thing, but part of it was also just explaining how Gamergate specifically was like patient. It was basically the nuclear bomb that caused everything. And it's still causing effects to this day. Like, it was really bad. It is really bad. And a lot of them just don't, a lot of academics just don't know. They don't know what that means, you know? And that's why I feel like I kind of have to try to go into it, because put it bluntly, someone needs to fucking speed this shit up, because I cannot have my academics, bro, thinking that like that like that's where they're getting their stuff. I think Warhammer was kind of rough for a bit, and then I think they all left Warhammer, but I think it was kind of rough for a while. Um, because I think eventually, like, those kind of incels realized that Warhammer is actually pretty woke in, like, a lot of ways, and that made them mad, so they left. If I'm remembering correctly, I think that's a thing that happened. I remember hearing about. Which is pretty funny, objectively, but... Online, there's a lot of people who are into the Imperium, and purging Xenos and heretics is seen as cool, awesome, instead of horrifying. They like Black Temple. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like... Yeah, it's kind of like, to put it bluntly, being a Freerin fan in 2025 on that is like... because there's a lot of people who will get into a media that, especially a media that has a specific either group of people that like purge others or like something like that sort, and then they get into it and then they immediately make it like straight Nazi shit, or they ignore the fact that clearly those are the bad guys and they're like, yeah, this is awesome actually. Because like Freerin has that problem really fucking bad. Like, a lot of Freeren's online fan base, unfortunately, right now is kind of the Fourth Reich, dead ass, you know? Explicitly a critique of fascism, but most critiques of fascism just eventually attracted them. Yeah, because they don't have the media literacy to see that. They'll be like, if it's a critique, why do they look kind of cool? You know? As if, you know, that's not kind of the point. I mean, it's true, bro. You see the amount of fucking crazy-ass Nazi bros that will repost, like, Freerin talking about the demons and shit, and use that to be like, this is what we should do to immigrants. Like, it's insane. I'm like, she would kill you, bro. like, that's kind of why I don't really, like, and it's not Freeren's fault. I think Freerin is a good show and a good anime. That's kind of why, despite people thinking it's kind of annoying, I don't really like the this fantasy race is explicitly evil and that's it. And there's nothing, they are just evil. And this entire race, evil. Everything about them. Because very quickly it gets used for that kind of stuff, you know? Like, I get wanting, like, the big bad and, like, you know, but that is what gets tricky about that kind of stuff, is it gets... shit gets pretty racist pretty quickly, you know, is what I'm saying. Hi Fox, hello. Hi Foxy. Yeah, that's kind of the issue with Freerun, I feel like, is... I think Freerun's a good show, yeah, but a lot of people use it as a way to, like, push their just really racist opinions, kind of like what a lot of people did with, like, D&D, with the whole, like, oh yeah, all drow are evil. All drow are evil, and even though they live in caves, we're gonna make sure they have a specific look to them, you know? I was talking about how, like, there's, like, a lot of, Freerun people, like, Freerun fans that will use, like, images about them talking about the demon race in that anime. Because the demon race is just evil and that's it. They're just evil. And they use it to be, like, they use it to then be like, this is what we should do IRL. Because XYZ minority group is bad and evil, and just kind of talking about how, like, that's kind of the issue, I feel like, when a lot of fantasy genres do the one race is explicitly evil and that's it, they're just evil, is... It feels like it always leads to people just using it as, like, an allegory to say, like, really fucked up stuff, you know? Like... You know, I definitely get that it can be kind of annoying when everything is like... I don't agree with the, like, every enemy needs to somehow be kind of good. Like, no, I don't agree with that. But it's just, yeah, if you have a race that's very established as just unanimously you're all evil, it tends to get racist really quickly, and I don't think it's a Freerun problem. I don't think the mangaka is lovely. They did not intend for that. It's just that's always what people are going to turn it into, unfortunately. They did the same thing with... Well, to be fair, I think D&D making drow evil, I feel like that, just knowing D&D, that probably was out of racist reason. I'm just gonna say, knowing the old D&D creators, they probably did that shit fully on purpose. I'm gonna be completely honest, you know? I kind of made all my races fucked up. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. Like, every race has, like, fucked up shit, you know? But yeah, that's kind of what gets to, like, some weird territories of... Yeah. That's why, like, it doesn't mean you have to make them all good by any means. Absolutely not. You can still make them, but you gotta... You gotta be at least aware, too, that... There's probably a good chance that that's the kind of community that might latch onto it, because those guys are always really annoying and will always find a way to do that, like you said with Warhammer and stuff like that, you know? I mean, it's kind of like you know, it's kind of like the classic trope of, like, is this guy interested in World War II or the Crusades because he thinks they're actually interesting and, like, the aesthetics are, like, interesting? Or is he into it because he's into it, you know? Like, there's, like, why that's, like, a trope of, like, you know, kind of gotta check with that kind of stuff sometimes. Is this woman into homesteading and, you know, making sourdough in her kitchen because it's a fun hobby, or is it because of something else here that I'm not being explicitly told? Yeah, it's an unfortunate aspect. I mean, you know, kind of sucks. That's to be honest, I'm thankful that the Lord of the Rings movies came out when they did because Jesus Christ, people would not be able to handle those movies nowadays. Legitimately, if they heard the I am no man line, I think they would legitimately like I think it would be like a Captain Marvel level like people's like actually piss shitting crying making YouTube videos nonstop on the internet level thing. If they heard the Lord of the Rings I am no man, like that would like send so many of them into just like a coma, you know. But like in the early 2000s that shit was like, oh, sick actually, especially for the times, you know. Jesus, even the World War One combat veterans are woke these days. Yeah. it's it's interesting. I don't know, man. Like I don't even know. It's I don't know. I wish we could just get along. I wish that people would stop being hateful little fuckers and we could just be happy. If you can't tell, I'm so fucking tired. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking tired. I got like 8 hours of sleep, but I'm so fucking tired. Ugh. Get some chalky milk and watch Gary's mod videos. Literally. Like, why can't we all gather around and watch shitty reality TV romance shows together and laugh at how dumb the people are? Like, you know, why do we have to like be bigots and hate each, you know, like humans should be more advanced than this, bro. We should be past this already. Like, come on. Which, speaking of which, the thing is like, I've got kind of a problem because I've become like kind of addicted to shitty romance reality shows. It's starting to become a bit of a problem. I have watched so many in the last 5 days. I've watched a couple seasons in the last 5 days. I have an issue and Netflix is supplying me, and it's not a good thing that they are. It's not a good thing. Kind of mentioned it for those that were at the Monday collab before my internet absolutely killed itself, which was unfortunate. Dude, there was like a minute delay on my stream. It was bad. Um, of like basically, I've been obsessed with the like stupid like Love is Blind show. Bro, I should not be this invested in this bullshit, man. I should not be, but like, I'm so locked in. I'm legitimately so locked in. I have watched so much in the last 5 days. Maybe it was because my period and I just was like, this is what I want to sink my teeth into, but I did. It is peak slop, is what I'll say. It is peak slop. I get it now. I watched so much of that slop. Exactly. Dude, okay, listen. If you want to watch peak, that's like slop but still like actually has good couples. Because here's the thing. I'm picky in that I want it to still be entertaining and still be my slop, you know? But there has to at least be one couple that I root for. You know, there has to at least be one that I want to ensure actually make it. Um, if you're interested in it, on Netflix, Love is Blind Sweden. Dude, the Sweden version is fucking good. Holy shit, like there is some drama, yeah, but it's not crazy. It's most of it is like they solve it relatively quickly, and the couples are really good. I finished season 2. A lot of people prefer season 1. I actually think season 2 was I prefer the couple in season 2 that was my favorite. They're the fucking cutest of cutie patooties, and I want to put them in my pocket. Okay, so you know, um, it was really fucking good. I think also because like I don't know, I feel like if you want to watch Love is Blind for like real slop, watch the American version. Watch the American version 100% because half of those people are just on there because they want an Instagram following. They don't actually really give a shit about finding a partner. If you want to watch it because you want to watch people actually like fall into relationships, the Swedish version is phenomenal. I literally cried at the wedding episode on season 2. Dead ass. This acoustic. There's always some fucking dude with an acoustic guitar, bro. Oh my lord. Like, to give context in Love is Blind season 2, like my favorite couple between them at one point, like when they went to the vacation part, the guy literally looked over here and he was like, dude, I'm so scared right now because what if I get out in like the middle of the night to grab something and the camera catches like my dick flopping about because I'm not wearing pants. I fucking love that. Nicholas, my beloved. I loved him. He had the energy of a fucking stressed out German shepherd the entire season. I loved him. The Swedish version, they are actually trying to find a relationship. Season 2 has a dude who's like 40 and he's really into crystals and shit, and he's like this super spiritual guy and he's kind of fucking weird. He's entertaining. The Japan season is also good for people actually trying to find relationships. It's just there, I feel like the Japan season didn't have as many couples to root for because I feel like you could kind of tell semi quickly what couples probably wouldn't have worked, you know? I want another season of the Japan. I want another Japan season. Like, I need it very badly. Um, the Mexico season is pretty fucking messy. The Mexico season was crazy because my favorite couple turned evil randomly, and that was a shocker. That was crazy. That like a few days before the wedding, my seemingly very wonderful couple, she just fucking beat his ass, and I was like, oh, well, kick this bitch out of here. You know? Uh, which thankfully they did, but I was just like, oh Jesus Christ, like, okay, fuck, like, where did that come from? Godspeed, dude, like, and I think he's doing better, you know, but that was just like out of left field that she randomly just started smacking on him and shit. I was like, what the fuck? Um, yeah, that was crazy. I have not watched Brazil. Okay, currently I'm watching the Germany season right now. I'm watching the I guess I have a problem. I have a problem. I'm watching the Germany season right now. Um it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. I'm not full. I haven't gotten to all the couples yet, I don't think, but it's all right. It's all right. Um I started the French one and I didn't realize that the French one was ongoing, so I ended up watching like the newest episode and then I got mad that there wasn't more and I couldn't, because like here's the thing, I struggle like with Ultra, like you mentioned you having like 800 romance manga and stuff, but I struggle to binge anime, but I can binge a manga or like a live action slop show in like I can binge that shit, but like binging an actual anime, I just for some reason just very rarely can do it. Um, I watch every international version of some English show. I totally get it. Yeah, dude. I'm watching the German version right now. I started watching the French yeah, I know that one. Yeah. I started watching the French one and listen, I know I make so many jokes about hating the French. I know I do. I know I do, but like holy shit, bro. Like, fuck, man, the French. Like, Jesus Christ. The French are already just a fucking shit show, and it's like episode 4 out of 10 is out. The French are already a literal fucking shit show. I don't know. I shouldn't have expected any less. They went in there. The thing is like the French one is still ongoing, so the French one isn't gonna be fully out, I think, till possibly October. Yeah, the Swedish one is like if you want actual like wholesome with like a side of drama. The French one is drama with a side of wholesome. Like there's one wholesome couple and then the others kind of suck. Um like to give context to the French, also the thing that's crazy is I think maybe this is giving me a little insight to how the French are, because they all immediately led with this very like, you know, I'm French, I'm, you know, I got a very nice accent and like my language is pretty and look at me, I'm wearing a turtleneck and I'm handsome and like, oh, I'm so put together, you know, they all led with that. And then now that they're at the point where they're actually meeting with each other, these are different people. like like these are different fucking people now that they're like actually like in person and interacting with each other. These are not the same fucking people. Holy shit, when did they become possessed by demons is all I'm gonna say, because like I'll just talk about one couple that just like blew my fucking mind, how shit escalated within the first day of meeting in person. Like insane speed run of a breakup, frankly. um Guy was a chef. He was a chef. He was like super suave. Like, yeah, you know, I care about you. But this chick, she, you know, like good Christian girl, also really likes cooking. They bonded over that. Like, they both had this calm, like, they had this calm, mature energy to them. We're gonna talk everything out. I want to be there and be vulnerable for your feelings, yada yada yada. It was great. I was actually like, holy shit, yeah, these guys seem like they have a pretty good foundation here. And then they met. He looked like he wanted to eat her right there and there. So I was like, okay, yeah, he's definitely attracted to her. She was a little nervous because she is a 6 foot tall woman. She was a bit nervous about the guy potentially being short. Um, He ended up being 2 or 3 inches shorter than her while she was in heels, but she didn't care because she actually was like, I thought I might be a little more self-conscious because as a woman, kind of being taught that a guy should be taller, it kind of makes you question your femininity sometimes if you're taller, and you know, she is 6 foot, so I understand the fear a bit more. Um, she, even though he was a bit shorter, she was like, he's so handsome, and like, that's him, that's Jonathan that I've been talking about, and it was super cute. And then they go to the vacation and they're about to go to the party to meet the other couples, and they're both getting ready, and she's like, okay, what shoe should I wear? Do you care? And he's like, no, I don't care. Wear what you want. And then she puts on some heels, and then he fucking pulls her aside into the other room, and he's like, can you wear your sandals, please? And she's like, why? And he's like, because the other guys are gonna make fun of me if you show up wearing heels that make you significantly taller than me. Can you put on your sandals? And she was just like, oh, well, I asked you your opinion on my shoes and you said you didn't care, so I decided to wear heels because heels make me feel pretty, you know? Like, you said you didn't care, now all of a sudden you care? I'm confused. And then he started crashing the fuck out, like, actual crashing the fuck out, like, you don't give a fuck about my feelings because the guys are gonna make fun of me as a man for you being taller than me, and you're wearing heels? Yeah, I say I don't care what shoes you wear, but since I'm shorter than you, you should just expect it's common fucking sense that I don't want you to wear shoes that are gonna make you taller than me around the boys. And like, it was insane. I was just like, oh my god, like, what the fuck? Like, he did a complete 180 and immediately just showed at his ass as this deeply insecure person. And she was like, I don't care what other people think about it. And he's like, yeah, well, I do as a man, and you should respect. And then he was like, you're talking to me like a child, and blah blah blah. And I was just like, girl, run, like, run away, you know, run. Um, that was crazy. And I'm pretty sure they, like, I didn't, obviously, like, then the episode ended, but like, yeah, I was like, that's kind of I think they broke up on the first day, quite literally, because he just could not handle that the chick was a bit taller than him. Yeah, it's TV. Which is so crazy too, because to give context about this woman, okay, she was 6 foot tall, um, fucking gorgeous. She was gorgeous. She was also curvy as fuck. She was like, that was a woman, like, capital letters woman, you know? And he was very much attracted to her, but he just could not handle. He felt so emasculated by her being like 2 or 3 inches taller than him in heels that he broke up with a capital letter woman because of it. Like, bro fumbled like a whole, like, she was a bad bitch. Like, she was bad as fuck. And she was literally like, I am a good Christian woman. I want to cook for my man and be a house and be like a nice wife that takes care of him. And he fumbled because he's a short. like, like, oh my god. Oh my god. And the thing is like, he wasn't even like short. He was like maybe like 5'10" or something, maybe. But she's 6 foot tall. You know, she's really tall for a woman. Yeah, he literally just couldn't fucking handle that. He just could not handle that. And it's crazy because he was attracted to her. It's just he could not handle the concept of other dudes making fun of him. And like, I feel like that is such a common thing with a lot of guys where like they like, especially when you see those kind of shows where it's like, oh, a bunch of people lined up and they all have to vote on if they find someone attractive, and you'll literally see guys looking to see if the other guys like the chick because they don't want to possibly like a girl that their friends might dislike and then ridicule them for, which is like, bro, you're fumbling a bad bitch because she's a couple inches taller than you in heels. Like, are you joking, bro? And the thing that's so funny too, I guarantee I don't think the other guys would have made fun of him because most of the other guys were barely taller than their respective girls. Like, I, I really don't think the other dudes would have given a fuck, truthfully. I think he was just so in his head that, like, yeah, Dude, it made me so, and like, dude, watching that, I was transported back to middle school when like every guy told me he couldn't like me because I was taller than him. Like I was like, girl, I am so sorry. Because I don't know, I that kind of stuff is so funny to me because like, for example, like my boyfriend is like, he's like an inch or two taller than me. Like, he's like an inch or two taller than me normally, but I like to wear platforms that give me like an extra 6 inches or so to my height. Does my boyfriend care that it makes me taller than him? No. No. In fact, I think he kind of I think he likes it because from his perspective, that means if he hugs me, his face is in a certain part, you know? And he takes that as a win, you know? I think and he's just like, yeah, this is great. So I think more guys need to look at it from that perspective. The taller the woman, the closer her face is to her boobs. So, you know, like, think of it that way. Think of it that way. I feel like that should be a benefit, if anything. Flip this to boy because he knows. I tell it all the time. No, and if I asked him right now, well, I can't right now because he's at work, but he would be like, yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's sick. His one of his listen, if he can maximize his proximity to my boobs at all times, he would, okay? So he does not care. He's a guy, you know? He's a guy, what can I say? Man of the people. Yeah, exactly. And if I try to make fun, if I try to tease him for it, he'll be like, am I not allowed? Is it wrong as a boyfriend to be attracted to my girl? We love a man who appreciates the effects of a tall heel. Yeah, it's him. He's just like, okay, whatever, bet, sure. He, my boyfriend doesn't give a single shit about how I dress as long as I'm not, like, exposing myself, you know? Like, he will let me wear whatever I want, but he will do the thing of, like, if I get out of the car, he'll, like, make sure to check that because I wear, like, really short skirts, that, you know, everything's covered, everything's good. If there's, like, wind or something, he'll, like, hold it down, you know? That's all he cares about. He doesn't give a fuck what I want to wear, and he lets me wear whatever I want. He's just, like, you know, I don't want to risk an exposure occurring. As long as he can ensure that doesn't, yeah, he doesn't care. He's like, whatever. You know. He lets me dress however I want because he's like, you know, I get to look at you be pretty in pretty clothes, and at the, you know, end of the day, I'm the one that goes home with you, so, you know. Like, you know, like, who cares, you know? Yeah, he doesn't ever make problems about any of that, you know. Plus also, I think he like then a guy who tries to shut down your fit, yeah, like his literally all he cares about is he just doesn't want me to accidentally like expose my like fucking like my undies or my bra that because he knows also I don't want to do that, you know. So as long as he ensures that, he's like, yeah, you can wear whatever you want. He's just, it's protective, but not possessive. You know, it's like that vibe. Like, it's he is not possessive over me, but he will take precautions. Exactly. Yeah, like he'll take precautions to ensure, which yeah, it is helpful, and it's also just like I will say too, just for the boys in the chat, infinitely more attractive than trying to like police a girl's outfit. If you're worried about that, it's infinitely more attractive to just like help ensure that like a wardrobe malfunction doesn't happen. Because also like that's just kind of chivalrous, and I think we all kind of just like that. But it's an infinitely more attractive way to go about it, because then it doesn't feel controlling, and it just feels more like you're just genuinely, you don't want us to accidentally like get embarrassed or have something that like we want private out there. I definitely think like that's the protective, like the one-time boyfriend got complimented once in public. Okay, well, I'm kind of possessive, but like he kind of likes that. That's a bit different, okay? Because like for one, my boyfriend literally you have to spell it out for him if someone's flirting with him. So, I kind of take a more aggro approach because he will not realize. He just thinks people are nice. But also he just like he kind of I think he just likes I think he likes when I get like that. So, that's what matters. The curse of a charming friend. Dude, he's literally everybody wants him, bro. It genuinely, like, the pros of having a really hot partner is like, dude, my boyfriend's super hot and awesome. The downside, everyone else knows he's super hot and awesome. Fuck. like, damn it. The fact, dude, are you kidding me? Half of the people in my chat already want him. Like, I literally joke that, like, whenever I eventually, like, have him on, like, everyone's gonna be like, get this Mina bitch the fuck out of here. We don't care. Like, dude, no, literally, the amount of, like, I don't want to cross me. Literally, like, everybody, guy, girl, everybody. Everybody wants a piece, I swear to God. And, like, he doesn't realize it. He doesn't understand it. And I'm like, for one, because you're, like, the nicest person. Two, you're hot. I don't know what to tell you. You were literally introduced to me by someone as, do you want to see a picture of my hot friend? Like, I don't know what else to tell you, bro. Three, you're charming. You just got charming, like, nerd energy. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I've never met a person who disliked him since the 3.5, maybe 4 years that I've known him. I've never encountered a person that just like disliked him. He's just one of those people. And yeah, that's why basically like when we're in public, I am like attached to him. I have to be careful, man. Simply just being legitimately like just being a nice, like, because also he just has very, I don't know how to describe, he has a very safe energy to him. Like, he's the kind of person where a lot of people, like, even like men and like older men, for example, that are having like car troubles or things like people will just, if someone needs help, they just single him out and go to him and ask him. Pretty much always. Like, he is always if a stranger needs something, they default to him, like, all the time. Because he just has that approachable, like, nice energy to him. And he's like one of those people where he is like very very helpful, and sometimes I feel like sometimes I feel like to his own detriment at times. But he is, yeah, he's incredibly sweet like that. So I think also it's just he has a very inviting energy to him that I think a lot of people can notice. I also tell him all the time he has like he's like I feel like I've never like he has like I get the best I can phrase it in my mind is just I feel like he has like doe eyes. You know, like a deer. He's got those big brown eyes, and it just like ah like ah. I feel like people with brown eyes come off so like I don't know. I feel like there's something just so much like so inviting about people who have those like big brown eyes as opposed, and I'm saying this as someone who I actually have green eyes, you know, as opposed to people who have like green or blue eyes. I don't know. I feel like there's just something about when people have like those big brown eyes that is just so like friendly and like approachable and just like I don't know. There's something about it that I feel like dang, I'm just over here gooning about my boyfriend. That's what he says too. He's like, I just have boring brown eyes. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Everyone says, listen, okay, listen. Do you want me to tell you right now what I have told my boyfriend multiple times, and maybe Pumpkin, you can advocate for this, is like, I feel the arrow getting shot into my heart every time he does this. If he's like sitting at his computer or something and I stand next to him to talk to him and he looks at me and he like looks up to talk to me, like his eyes looking up, dude, I just want to like, oh my god. It's okay, you can just like something about it. I want to launch myself at him, and I try to tell him like, you don't understand how good y'all look. It's like y'all look like beautiful is the best way I can just phrase it. Is like I feel like it's definitely like if for those of you guys who have like that's what I always say, especially like guys, girls, whatever, who say that like, oh, it's boring. Literally all y'all have to do is just do the like look up kind of like doe eye look, and I'm just like, oh my lord, like it's just like an instant hit, you know. It's so something about it is just like amazing. I tell him that all the time. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. Melt heart of literally, yeah, I feel it makes me feel like I'm in some kind of like period piece romance book looking at my lovely man, you know, like something about it is just like amazing. That's a big one. And then the like another one that he'll kind of do that I've told him about it, and I feel like he kind of does it more because he knows it, because he is smart. Um, if I'm like sitting on the bed, like the edge of the bed, just like talking, and he's like getting, you know, changing out of his like work uniform or something or whatever, and if he will like kind of kneel down in front of me and like kind of like rest on my lap there and look up at me, I'm like, I'm gonna rip my skin off right now. I'm like, I'm like, I don't know how to tell him, like, I'm gonna be like the chick from Nosferatu and just start going like, rah! Like, he's got those big puppy eyes. He's got those big puppy dog eyes, and ever since I like really told him, I feel like he's like kind of starting to understand a little more, but like, yeah, that always like, and I feel like that's a common woman thing. I see a lot about women talking about like liking see God, this is gonna sound so sus to say, but I don't know how else to say it besides like liking the look of a man on his knees. I feel like a lot of women talk about like liking the look of a guy when he's on his There's no way to say it without it sounding sus, and I don't even mean it in like a sus way, but it's just listen. At least for me and the girls I know, we abide by this sentiment of men who yearn are men who earn, and if you do that, if you got that, like, because I feel like with women too, it's less about like explicitly like um explicitly like Wesley from The Princess Bride, Mr. Darcy from fucking Pride and Prejudice, like all of these kind of guys, you know, Will Turner from Pirates of the Caribbean, like those kind of guys where they like, because for women, I feel like it's more about it. For guys, like to put it bluntly, like you want to get a guy in the mood, just like take your top off. Like, like it sounds kind of like, but like truthfully, like if you want to be like, if you want to get a guy in the mood, just say, hey babe, do you want to do X thing? And then like y'all are like, yeah, sure. And that's kind of really all you gotta do, you know? It just be like, hey, you want to do it? And then they go, okay, bet. And then get naked. There you go, you know? I feel like for women, tension is a big thing, and like for that I just feel like the easiest way to do it is just stuff like that, like the affectionate in a not it's not explicitly sexual, but it's just the like, that's why like a lot of times if you get into like, if you end up getting onto like women's social media spheres, you'll see like a common thing is like when there's like photos of like celebrities of like a guy and girl, and the women are like, oh my god, the placement of his hands, where like if he's got the like lower back kind of like splayed around the side or something, you know, like women take very into account that kind of shit of like, and be like, oh my god, the way he's holding onto her waist right now, like holy shit, oh my god, you know, like stuff like that. Literally the reason that the Mr. Darcy hand flex is one of the like biggest goon scenes for women in cinema, and it's literally a dude flexing his hand. Wesley looks at Buttercup like he wants to devour her whole every time he sees her. That man looks at her like he is starved. That is a starved man. Like that's the kind of shit that really like ooga booga, you know. Women are way more hand centric than men realize. True. Yeah, men ooga booga, I see booba. Yeah. Here's what, yeah. Like, yeah, women too. I think because like for me, I'm not explicitly into hands like in particular, but it's more of just the, I guess the way you can, what you can do with them non-sexually, in the sense of like, it's like the little touches that's not like explicitly sexual, like, oh, the way a guy holds on to you as you're walking, or like, you know, like Mr. Darcy flexing his hand after touching Elizabeth's, you know, where it's like, yeah, there's a lot you can learn, like social cues. Yeah, It is definitely definitely a thing. That and then like what kind of yeah, the working man's hand comparison. That yeah, a lot of women can clock what kind of work you do by how your hands are. Like my boyfriend has like rougher than and then also if the guy does have like rougher hands because of the kind of work they do, then there's the comparison of like if yours aren't and then his are and like the difference like you know, it's kind of like I think Ultra posted a romance manga that it literally focused on the difference between an artist's hands and a crafter's hands, which is peak. Yeah, stuff like that, literally. Another is like the eyes. I think a lot of guys don't realize how much just like looking can do for you. 'Cause like, for example, for me, like I still get nervous when my boyfriend looks at me for too long. I still get kind of giddy, and I'm like, did I do something? Like, I get kind of nervous still, even, and I've been dating the guy for almost like next year. It'll be 4 years, you know, and like even just stuff of like noticing like oh they're looking at me but they're trying to like glance away but I can tell that they're like sneaking looks and like um when like uh kind of like I mentioned the like looking up thing or just when guys have kind of like a pleading like I want this kind of thing. I think also because like I don't know. Maybe it's high schoolers. One was good at drawing, and the other handmade traditional Japanese drums. Ooh. I think another thing, and like I feel like maybe this also just plays kind of into a traditional gender norm thing, but I feel like also for a lot of women, there's this aspect of the like the guy being you know, strong, independent, blah blah blah. And then here's the guy literally like being like, please, you know, like with fucking puppy dog eyes, be you because he wants, you know, and like that's kind of like yeah, that activates neurons, you know. I think also kind of the concept of the like the I think a classic trope with women is the guy that seemingly doesn't really lose the put together, doesn't lose control, doesn't take orders kind of guy who then is basically kind of like leading, you know? Had a lot of hot older men in it instead of sexualizing the teenagers. Okay, what's the name? Taiko drums? Is that it? You said hot older men. Hold on. What is this called? What is this called? I need a name now. Blooming Love. Where are the men? Hmm. Oh, they're a cute couple though. I'm assuming the main couple is like the teenagers. Grandpa? Let me see. What does Grandpa look like? Hmm. Okay, okay, okay. I see, I see. Okay, okay, okay. God, my toxic trait is I want more age gap romance. But like where it's legal, where it's legal, where it's legal. You know, can I get more age gap romance where it's not a high schooler and their teacher, you know? Cause like, and when I say age gap, when I say age gap, I want minimum 10 years. Minimum. I get really pissed when someone's like age gap romance and it's like 5 years. I'm talking 10 years minimum, preferred 20 or 30. I want them old. I want it. I want 20 and 50. Going to work out? Yeah, of course. uh, I love old men. I even read preferred like I even uh yeah, I don't like when it's not legal because that's just like icky, you know? Or if it is legal, it better not be that bullshit of like I knew you when you were underage, disgusting, get it out of here, throw it away. No, you know. Ew. Uh like can we just get like two adults, you know, that didn't know each other when one of them was underage? It shouldn't be that hard, you know. It should not be that hard. If it's that case, then yeah, sign me up. I've even read a lot of like old I've read a lot of like old man yappy. Because also like I feel like there's more old men in yaoi than there is in straight romance too. It is more common. And they don't, well, they still sometimes do but if I sense a, like, I knew you when you were underage, I'm noping the fuck out of there. God, there's one of them that's one of my favorite because also the old man is quite literally just Mads Mikkelsen, basically. Um, what was it called? Uh, uh, what was it called? Uh, I found it, I found it. It's called If Love Falls on You. It's, it's about a guy in his, like, mid to late 20s, I think, who got broke up with his boyfriend. And as he's, like, walking home, because, you know, he just got broke up with, he's, like, upset. He sees this fucking old dude trying to, like, grab his underwear out of the tree because it flew off his balcony when he was trying to dry his clothes into the tree. And he feels bad for him, so he goes to, like, help him get it, basically. And then it kind of starts them having this little, like, friendship of him helping out this older guy. And the older guy being thankful that he also has someone to, like, hang out with. And then, the older guy basically is, like, he basically discovers that he's bisexual. And is like, yeah, I've never, like, been with a dude, but, like, I like you, so maybe I'm just into dudes, too, you know? Because he had, like, just gotten a divorce. And it's good. it's pretty, it does have sex scenes, I will say that. It does have sex scenes, so if you're not into that, then, you know, but, I will say he fucking, oh no, not gay sex. Dude, Peepaw plows his shit. It's all over the site. No, it's probably my favorite because the story is really cute and the characters are really cute, and yeah, Peepaw fucking plows his shit in. So like, you know, we love to see it. We love, you know, good for the elderly. We love to see it work. And I also like it because the older guy, like, actually does, like, look and dress and, like, act older, you know? He kind of is, like, the more, like, aloof older man type. And the younger guy he's also really fucking pretty. Um, yeah, no, it is good. Uh, people got game. I'll say that. Yeah, that was pretty good. That's the cover art. Yeah, it's really cute. It's only like, I think it's like one volume. It might have two. It's just like a one-off thing. So unfortunately, it's not long, but it's a cute little story. And then the yaoi, oh for sure, 100%. And then at the end is when they bang. But like, other than that, like, yeah, I like it because I like that the older guy actually feels like an older guy. I hate when it's like they're supposed to be older but they act 20, you know? Because the author clearly doesn't know how to write for someone older. But he actually does act like a gentleman of that age range, which I appreciate. I think it's way more interesting. But yeah, if you're... I will say too, I also... most romance stuff that I would recommend has, like, sex in it as well. And I know a lot of people are not into that, you know, because I feel like there's a lot of people who write off sex scenes in manga as just like, oh, it's hentai, you know? Which, I don't know. Just for me, it's like, if I'm reading about grown-ass adults in like this big tumultuous relationship, and the biggest thing I get is a kiss, I'm kind of like, snooze fest. Like, I'm a little bored here. I'm a little bored, like, come on now, y'all are grown adults, like, at least a little something, you know, unless they're, like, asexual or something and they just don't want to do that and that's part of the story, then that's different. But, like, especially if they're, like, referencing being bricked up and stuff and then they just never do anything besides, like, hand-holding, I'm kind of like, okay. I don't know, I get a little bored. Like, not saying that it has to be, like, graphic, you know? Like, for example, my love story with, Yamada-kun to level 999, like, that one has, like, sex scenes in it. It's just not graphic because you can, like, they're under a blanket, you know? But you know they're having sex, you know? Like that. Like, that's chill, you know? Versus, like, you know, and, like, yeah, you know, it's kind of like, I feel like raise your hand if you read smut manga. You know, that's me. I read smut manga. You know. I would be getting the Gooner allegations. Oh yeah, they yeah, they have sex. Yeah, they very much have sex. Um yeah, they just don't show anything. It like shows them where he's on top of her and they're under the blanket. But no, he is hungry in the manga. In the manga, yeah, he is like he is very bricked up. Yeah, no, they have sex in like chapter like 6. I actually I think I'm not even joking. I think they might have sex in chapter 69. I'm not even kidding. I think that might be when they do it. Let me check. Let me check. I think it really is. I think it really is. Hold on. Let me look. Let me look. I'm actually checking the source material right fucking now. Yeah, it is literally chapter 69. I think it's literally yeah, it's literally chapter 69. Okay, yeah, no, it is Yamada-kun is literally about a couple that meet on a fucking MMO site. Like it's very online savvy. It shows him on top of her. It shows him licking up her chest. And then it shows and then it shows a bit of like you can tell he's about to do some insertion. And then it like does the hand gripping the, you know. And then it cuts to afterwards. But yeah, no, that's great. That's great. I love that, you know. It doesn't have to be like super explicit, you know. It's just stuff like that is nice when the characters are adults, you know. Because I think, I don't know, like obviously if it's teenagers, I don't want to see that shit, you know. But if it's adults, then I don't know. I feel like it's kind of weird when anime focusing on adult romance kind of like hides from the concept of sex, you know? Because like that's a very normal part of adult relationships. And they don't even have to do it in like a smutty way. It's just like, you know, at least like some reference that they do it would be nice, you know, instead of just. It's like otherwise I feel like then it ends up making the relationships feel kind of like they're holding back or they're, you know, kind of, I guess, like a little more childish. Cut to the next day. Yeah, that I'm even fine with that. I would prefer a little more too because also like I don't know, for me it gets you kind of like giggling, kicking your feet, you know, because you're like, oh my god, they're finally doing it, you know, like a little bit of workup is nice. Like I think Yamada-kun does it well because like you see a bit of intimacy and then it cuts, you know, because I don't like when it does just a straight fade to black in stuff. I even feel that way with D&D of like, I feel like you need to throw out a sentence or two to like set it up a little bit and then you fade the black. Because I feel like that's what really then like sets the vibes too. Because also like, I want to know, was it like romantic? Was it just like fucking, you know? Was it things like, because I feel like that's like, there could be so many different contexts of what the scene meant to the characters, but just because you don't get any glimpse of it, you can't tell, you know? Like, was it them having sex in a romantic way, or was it just like, they just be banging, you know? And then sometimes you never really get that context. Heavily depends on other people at the table for me. Yeah, definitely, for sure. And like, that was kind of like a thing for us with the Castlevania one, is like, you know, like Shiro and I mentioned with our characters before their big sex scene that like because his character is a vampire, like licked blood off of her, and then I mentioned that she kind of was like pawing his armor off, and then we did a cut to black. I found out apparently that was even a little too much to mention for some people at the table, so it's just like, oh, okay, that sucks, but you know, like, to me, that's kind of like normal to mention. Like, I don't know, just like a line or two of setup, but you know, obviously, if that's too much, then that's too much, so I'm not going to, you know. Something we figured out. Because, like, for me, I like to, if the other players are comfortable at the table, because I won't do things that make other people uncomfortable, obviously. And some people just don't know till they're in the moment if they're uncomfortable with something, and that's perfectly fine. So now it's just like, okay, then I just won't do that, you know? Uh, yeah, usually I like to throw in a little bit of setup because, I don't know. Because for me, usually, I like to treat sex scenes for D&D characters as, like, a chance for, like, I like to treat a lot of the times as, like, um, a meaningful story moment for the characters, because I think sex can be a really meaningful story mechanic. Um, that's why, like, Freya is actually the first character I've ever played that is, like, slept around, so to speak. Because typically, like, for my characters, like, them having sex was, like, a big deal, you know? It was, like, a big thing for, like, the relationship or, like, due to the thing, you know? Which is why, like, with most of Freya's, like, sex scenes, we usually just hard cut to black, but we did do, like, a sentence or two of setup of, the Freya Lucifer scene, just because, you know, it was their first time of them being now more openly romantic with each other, and then also, like, for them, due to both of them having, like, they're both two characters very, because also the thing too is, like, I'm playing a succubus, he's playing a vampire. Succubus and vampires are also just two, they're very erotic species, to put it bluntly. Like, succubus, obvious for obvious reasons, and then vampirism and eroticism is just, it is just intertwined because a lot of vampire media was used about criticisms about eroticism and like the suppression of female sexuality and all that kind of stuff, you know, blah blah blah. So we kind of like threw out a line or two, but yeah, if it's too much, it's too much for the party, you know. Like, if even one person's uncomfy, then like we won't do it. But yeah, you know, that's also just kind of the thing about us both ending up playing races that are very kind of intertwined with that. And a lot of D&D just ends up kind of being learning, like, who's comfortable with what and stuff like that, you know? Kind of something, especially when you're playing with new people, it takes a little bit to figure out, like, who's got what line, you know? The game the players are stressed out pilots who have to distrust one way or another, be it drinking, gambling, or sex. Yeah. I I will say that, like, I don't know, also, like, for me, like, the thing is, too, I will only do roleplay that's romantic or, like, that between, or, like, a dynamic between two characters that's sexual with specific people. There's specific people I'm comfortable doing that with. Obviously, my boyfriend. Um, I'm comfortable role-playing a D&D romance with Aki because same thing with Shiro, because I know how both of them are. It is like we are playing characters and we are playing like we're taking our Barbie dolls and we're smushing them together and going mwah, 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 kiss 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 kiss, you know. Uh it's a like we role play and do it and then it's left at the table and it's, you know, we're just doing our thing. I don't do it with anybody else because I don't do it with people that I suspect potentially could like carry things from the table into other facets, you know? So I'm also just very picky about who I do that with, you know? Like, since Aki is playing the NPCs, like, I'm comfortable, you know, playing a character that sleeps around with NPCs and stuff like that. Because I know Aki and Shira are gonna be, like, normal about it. You know? You did that with slime? No, of course. Yeah, like, that's kind of how I see it, I treat it like that, because, I don't know, I think romance is a very interesting part of, I don't know, I personally, I don't like playing in D&D where I can't romance. Or at least where I don't have anything, even if it's like, my character has a partner, but they're not, you know, maybe it's they had passed away, or maybe it's just they're not a part of the party, or there's someone I can't see, you know, stuff like that. It's just like, I feel like having that aspect just adds a lot of like, that feeling when the homework gets blocked with the automod, same feeling as when it lags and doesn't send. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like if you have a good group of people that you can trust aren't gonna make it weird, romance is a really fun thing to do in D&D. It's just, you have to ensure that you're doing it with people that aren't gonna make it weird, and that can be the hard part, you know? Like, it can be kind of hard finding someone to do it with that isn't gonna be, strange about it. We were talking about romance in D&D and, like, making your party, smooch, you know? So there's another player, the DM, yeah. My characters have only ever dated NPCs except for Castlevania because Freya and Lucifer are, well, they're not officially a couple, but like, you can tell they're going down that path, you know? Well, outside of like my boyfriend, we played a few, but it was only, the campaign only lasted like 3 or 4 sessions, so like, I don't really remember much from it, but my boyfriend usually ends up playing like asexual icon characters, so. Randoms online and it rarely ever comes up, honestly, except in Flying Circus where I was a raging lesbian. Hell yeah. My character accidentally became gay with Coda. Hell yeah. You know, sometimes it just happens, bro. Sometimes your characters learn things about yourself, you know? And that's what happens. That's what happens. Ugh. But yeah, I don't know, that's kind of my thoughts on that stuff. Like, I think it's, I definitely think it's a fun motivation. For roommates as a joke, it was a roommates, but we eventually just made it canon. They were fucking. Hell yeah. Yeah, different Aki, obviously. Honestly, that's kind of like the funniest bits is when it's 2 characters that people just joke about and then you just decide to be like, you know what? Fuck it. Yeah, they are fucking. Why not? This can end up being like the funniest like dynamics though, is when you just kind of are like, you know what? Sure, it is actually. Like, especially like when the party just decides that 2 NPCs, like we just were like, yeah, they're totally fucking right, and you didn't intend for that to be the vibe, but you know what? You're just like, you know what? Yeah, they are. They are fucking, actually. I'm a greedy paladin and I was a super justice-driven fighter. Hell yeah. Dick. That's what we love to see. Ugh. Jesus, I'm so fucking tired. I know I keep saying that, but I am. Oh my god. To be honest, I might, because like I said, I'm EP bro. I might go ahead and I figured this might be a shorter stream as it's just me kind of yapping, you know. Tomorrow I'm gonna fucking suffer because we got the stupid bitch ass Eddie fight on Silent Hill 2. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, if you expect me to play fair, I'm not playing fair with that piece of shit. I do not care. I have looked up. I'm gonna crank the brightness on that motherfucker and I'm going to kill. I do not care. I want to get out of that fight. I will do whatever fucking cheap ass little trick I can and I will beat that fucking man, I feel like I'm fighting Eric Cartman, bro. It's fucked up. I hate it. I will get out of that. So yeah, I'll have that tomorrow and you know, like I just make the NPCs fuck in Creator Haven. I was given the chance to voice act random NPCs, so I made 2 random guards be in a gay relationship, and then the party tried to kidnap the dude left after they killed his lover and kept ignoring how bro kept hating them. Valid. Yeah, I'm gonna kill that fucking dude. And then maybe, honestly, if we can finish the game tomorrow, which I don't think we will. I don't think we will. But I like to be a little, you know, if we somehow manage to, yippee, we're free. If not, Friday, I'm gonna try my best to finish as quick as I can. And then once we're finished, it's Yakuza 0 time and I can go back to happiness and joy and whimsy and fun. And I mean, it'll still be kind of sad, but it won't be as fucked up, you know? And at least, like, Kiryu is there and Majima is there, so. Once I get that done, we'll be free and we'll be out of misery and into actually some wonderful fun. And then I'm probably gonna, like, kind of go on, like, a lockdown after that from playing, like, some scary stuff so that I can try to, like, have some stuff prepared for October. Yeah. Because I want to do... Oh, Jesus Christ. I want to do some... like, one-off scary stuff for October, you know? Like, I don't know if I want to do, like, a mini playthrough or something. Like, I think I want to try to pick some, like, one-off games that I can do. So I think that would be fun. And then, you know, Shiro talked about doing Zomboid, Voices of the Void. I can do Voices of the Void with Aki if he wants, or I can just do it by myself. Like, a game I can play in, like, one sitting, you know, like a one-off game. Like, I can just, I can finish it in 1, maybe 2 sittings, because I don't... Oh my god. Killed my wife, Ultra. It's been 1 year and I'll never forget. The demo you talked about, yeah, time travel serial killer, interesting. Yeah, if you got any, like, you can post in the because I've been still looking at the Recs and, like, I've gathered some of those that you guys had mentioned to put as, like, possible ones, because I thought, like, obviously for October doing, like, some spooky stuff. And then doing less spooky stuff with, you know, like someone like Shiro that's a big baby, you know? uh have some spooky movie watches for us planned, and then my thought is like we'll just do spooky movies in October for obvious reasons, but then like afterwards we'll in November we can just do non-spooky movies to like balance it out, you know? So that way, yeah, those who miss the month because maybe they can't handle scary movies, they can, you know, watch some with us. And then I've already, I think, picked out what I want us to watch for December. Um, because I have a Christmas funny movie, and then there's a Christmas spooky movie that's also funny that I think would be fun. So I already kind of have that planned. I think those two would be really good. Um, November, yeah, we'll probably just do like lighthearted movies to balance it out. Um, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, but I think I gotta go take a nap. I'm so fucking dead. I think I gotta go take a nap. Slime and Ultra, you guys should kiss over the D&D table. Talking about playing D&D with each other like your spouses who've been separated by the war. Kiss over the D20 die. That's so funny. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go take a nap and then try to finish Pokemon, because I'm still trying to finish that so that Shira and I can do shiny hunt stuff. Um, but yeah, I can never beat the allegations. Sometimes you just gotta accept it. You know? People keep shipping us. Listen, sometimes you just gotta accept it. Just be like that, you know? You know, I'll go ahead and pop out and I will, send you guys over to Dad. He's playing some new survival game, so go see what's up with him. I'm Big EP. I must leave, even though I got enough time I should have. But it was fun and I appreciated the chat, and I will see you guys tomorrow potentially for Silent Hill. So yippee, fun, so much fun. A me time. Alright. I'll see you guys. Where do you send it? In the Discord? There is a General Rex. There'll be you can, wait, no, actually, Stream Rex, that's what it is. There's a Stream Rec one where you can just, like, make a thread and post, that it's a game, and I'll see it, so. It's down towards the bottom, under the manga club, so. Just post it there, Slime, and I'll see it. If not, if you don't figure it out, you can just, like, shut it in the general chat, whatever, I'll figure it out, you know? But yeah, I will see you guys. If you still need help figuring out Slime, I mean, Ultra can help, or you can just message on the Discord and I'll help you out, so. But yeah, I will see you guys. It was fun. Bye.